Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Blitz. I'm your host, Michael Barnaud, and welcome to another edition of the Blitz, where I will be discussing all matters of the football world. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Brandon. He comes to us from California. He is a Chargers fan and co-host of a show, Dad Hats, which is also on the barkermedia.com, which I am also a proud member of. Brandon, I will open up the floor now and let you tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are and just in general what you know.
Not much to talk about. I guess I got started with the whole Barker media. I met Chris in high school. We go back to, I got transferred to Gloucester High School freshman year. So I've known him since freshman year. So we're going on 14, 15 years now. He talked about doing something like this for the longest time, and now he really got the ball rolling. So I was stoked to be a part of it. Football is a huge part. Obviously we're in the league, the fantasy league, and so we study football, every detail of football, schemes, teams, how they're playing, what their offense is like, what their defense is like. So
yeah,
I love eating it up, love eating it all up. As far as the dad hats go, obviously I'm a new father. Me and Shane are both new fathers right there, so it's fun to share my journey and my new experiences with it. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, it's great to have you on. And actually, what you were saying a minute ago about fantasy football is it's amazing. Nothing will quite hone your football watching and analyzing skill like either betting on it or doing it in fantasy, because people don't even realize I am so much smarter watching football now versus
100%.
5 years ago when I never did any betting on football, didn't do any fantasy. That stuff really teaches you to play.
Oh, yeah, because it's either it's money on the line, which it is in our league, but then it's also your shit talking, because it's like I just won the championship belt in our league this year, and it feels incredible. So it's great to just rub in everyone's face like, yeah, I knew more about it than you did. Yeah. I did better than you. So it really does. The fantasy makes a huge impact.
Well, it's funny you say that. I actually won our teacher league down here this
year.
So, we got two champs.
Two champs right there.
So, look, if you've come to get football knowledge, you've come to the right place, folks.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah.
All right. So, anyway, but your show, Dad Hats, do you want to tell us just a little bit more about what it's about over on the Barker?
Yeah. So, really, it's talking about all the different experiences that I've gone through personally, what Shane has gone through personally. And while we're both, new fathers, we have such different styles of parenting. We have different experiences because he has a daughter, I have a son. So it's just two different viewpoints. That's something that we hope that other fathers or soon-to-be fathers can relate to, pick up on. We're waiting for other people to reach out to us like, oh, man, I totally understand what you're talking about because I did the same thing. I've had a couple people actually messaging me. My cousin, who's a father as well, he has 2 kids. He's like, that's actually very relatable. So it's new to write about myself in this sense, but it's not totally about myself. It's more about my son and the interactions that right now we're just in the very beginning. So right now we just talked about finding out we're getting, she's pregnant. So right now the next episode is going to be the pregnancy, the birth. And then now we're going to start moving into, oh crap, you're really a dad now. Like this is happening and all the different responsibilities that come with it.
That's a crazy feeling.
It was, I will never forget that feeling. It was the most incredible, nerve-wracking. I cried. I had tears in my eyes when he was born. When I saw him for the first time, it's otherworldly. I can't even describe it.
That's what they tell me. And so it's a great, it's an interesting show. And again, you can check all this out on the barkermedia.com. You can find Brandon and Shane's show over there. So today, briefly, I met Chris in high school. Just so you know, not high school. I met Chris playing football in college.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so I've known him for the same amount of time, and he's always been really huge into sports and movies, just like me. So
100%.
So it was just natural. It was like, well, why have we been doing this all along? So anyway, here we go. And today on this show, we're gonna start talking about the combine. Now, I have beef with the combine, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about it. I want to lead in, though. I want to tell everyone a quick story about my last year playing football in Germany. This was 2 years ago. At that time, I played football, middle linebacker in a 4-2-5 scheme, next to perhaps the greatest specimen of an inside linebacker I've ever played with. The guy was about 6'3", 220 pounds, ran a 4.5 in the 40, ran an amazing fast 40. I mean, like, just incredible specimen. Great athlete all the way around. And again, if we'd run a 40, me and this guy, if we'd run a 40, he'd have beat me probably by 10 yards. I'm not kidding. And I'm about 25 pounds bigger than him. Now, but when you turned on the film and we practiced and we did inside run and then team period for the football literate out there. Those are just 2 breakdowns of a football practice that you film. Inside run is where you defend the offense's run game, and then team period is where it's like a scrimmage. So that's what those are. And when we turn those 2 periods on, I looked faster than him on film, over 10 yards. But that's the important thing, over 10 yards. Yeah. And as a result, he was not nearly as good of a player as his athleticism would have led you to believe. Just because his instincts were not as good.
Exactly.
And his eyes were not as good. Being that great of an athlete, I think, I have a theory on this. I think linebackers, if they are that great of an athlete, a lot of times it tends to make them lazy. They tend to overlook being able to read well, being able to see things quickly because they think their speed will just bail them out. And he was one of those guys. So if you had just looked at us on paper, he's 6'3", 220, runs his 4.5 40, and I'm about 5'10", 245, probably run a 5'2 40, somewhere in there, and you would have picked him first, guaranteed. And you would have gotten an inside backer who can't really play, or at least doesn't make any kind of a difference. And then I actually went on to have a pretty good season that year. Now, I'm not trying to, I'm just pointing this out. That there are countless versions of this throughout all of football, and this was just my own personal experience with it. The workout numbers don't make the player, and that's the trap we fall into during this time of year, during the combine. I love to tell my brother this, that more bad decisions are made right now because of watching this combine than any other time of year. I think it's important, but I think that teams way overestimate how much it means, especially that 40-yard dash. So that's my rant. I just wanted to kind of intro us into this with a personal thing that I feel is relatable, that kind of tells people, it just kind of gets to the point of, like, you can't just look at the numbers on a workout sheet, Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts on that stuff?
I agree with you. You know what? I was watching your previous episode with Chris and your brother, Francois, and
great guys.
Oh, first time seeing Francois, I was a big fan of him already too. Same with you, but yeah, Chris, you can talk X and O's with Chris all day. All day. But no, we agreed that too much is focused on, like you guys were saying with Joe Burrow, his hand size, or what's his 40, or what's his shuttle drill. Like, yes, those are great things that can separate guys that are similar.
Yeah.
But you got to look at the game tape. You got to look at the game tape. The game tape will tell you everything. It'll tell you in the moment, where their eyes are, where's the play recognition like, all that stuff, which, like you said, you could be the greatest physical athlete in the world, but if you don't know what's going on, you don't pay attention to what's going on, you don't learn the actual X's and O's, understand different concepts, it's useless. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. So 100% agree.
In football, we call this, in football, there's an expression for this. We call this paralysis by analysis, and that is where guys
take too long to recognize the play.
Right. It's, they if you just put them in a straight line, then it's fine. But otherwise, it's paralysis by analysis. But that's just kind of an expression we have. But that's kind of what we were getting at, and especially with Joe Burrow and his hand size. And the main thing I have a problem with is people overreacting to tests that have no functional purpose for the guy. For instance, there's that lineman who ran that super fast 40 this year at that 4A out of Iowa.
Yeah,
The thing is, that's not a functional skill. Like, it measures how good of an athlete he is, but that's not functional. And the guy I love to use is Mitchell Schwartz. Mitchell Schwartz played left tackle for the Chiefs this year. Didn't give up a sack.
That is an incredible sack. That is a incredible stat.
I guarantee you, Schwartz runs a 5.3. I guarantee it.
Probably. I think the only thing that should matter on an offensive, like their speed, is the first 10 yards. What's their get off speed? just their initial burst. That's really all that matters right there.
Right.
What's their lateral speed like? Can they pull, things of that nature? But yeah, 40 yards downfield, even if you break a run, you're not sprinting 40 yards downfield to go make another block. The running back's already way past where you are.
Right.
So no, I agree 100%.
Right. So it's like you have that. So that's what I have a problem with. People overreacting to tests that don't measure the function of that position. Tom Brady said it best too. He said, "Yeah, I can't run a fast 40. I can't do any of these things. But luckily for me, that's not what quarterbacking is about." And he's damn right. I'm like,
and
why
he got 1,000 yards rushing
to these things? Like, well, Mitchell Trubisky. I guarantee Mitch Trubisky got picked because, oh my gosh, look at that Greek god in shorts.
Yeah,
he can't play good. Quarterback, but he can look good in shorts.
Probably get his job taken by Andy Dalton.
That's well, there's some speculation for that. And we're going to talk about that a little later on in the episode. But yeah, I mean, Mitch Trubisky, again, a guy who benefited from the fact that, people don't, the fact that these GMs just love how people look in shorts a lot of times. And so so that's just basically the issue with it. Now, there are a couple guys I think you wanted to discuss as their draft status, and you analyze them. Do you want to tell us who they are?
Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't spend, I'm not going to consider myself an NFL draft analyst or anything like that, but I was looking more interested in the guys, the later round guys, the guys that might not even get drafted, but these guys are going to get drafted later rounds. These are the guys that you really fill your team out with, the guys that are, your role players, the guys that you can count on every day. They're not going to be your stars. They're not going to be anything like that, but they're the guys that they make the play when you need to make a play, and that's so big in football. You need that. You need those guys. So the first guy I wanted to take a look at, I have my notes right here on my phone. Stanford Samuels, cornerback out of Florida State, which Florida State has produced some great defensive backs. They have produced Derwin James on the Chargers right now. You can argue them as a DBU. They have produced some great defensive backs.
Absolutely. Like right there with LSU, I'd say.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. I mean, so this kid, he's 6'1", 187 pounds. He's got the good length. His arm's 31 3/4. Good length. You like that. He plays straight up man. He's more of a man style, corner. He can play zone. And the thing that I love most about him, like we were talking about analyzing and playing things of that nature, when you watch film on him dropping back in his side shuffle, playing man or dropping back, while he's looking at the man, he's also still looking at the quarterback to see how's the play developing, what's going on. So you see him
head on a swivel.
Yes, and you see him anticipate things. So when you have a receiver, rushing straight at him, he's dropping back, and he sees the swing out, he immediately breaks off his receiver, meets the receiver in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. You see that consistently with the guy, which that's big. That's big. I enjoy watching that. Like, that's heads up football. That's knowledge. That's understanding how the game's running.
Yep. That's important, being able to do that.
Yes.
And just to comment on his length, when you mentioned how tall he was, I really like that, especially in today's NFL. You want longer corners, it seems like, to deal with a lot of these. Because it used to be back in the day, like it felt like corners were like 5'9", 5'10" at the biggest, and you really end up in trouble when you go up. That guy goes up against a Julio Jones,
and they throw the ball, and you get beat every time.
Right, exactly. Now he can't match up with that guy. So length is good in today's NFL. Love length at the corner spot,
and that's one of the notes of this guy too, is the 50-50 jump balls. He's going to make it 50-50 at the very least, if not 60-40 in his favor, because he high points balls consistently. He is, he's got pretty decent ball skills. So that's exactly what we're talking about. You want to see when he played against Clemson, he was shutting the receivers down. He was shutting the receivers down because he was playing physical.
Great receiving core. T. Higgins.
Yes.
There,
yes. And so he's playing aggressive. So that was I like this guy. Obviously he's one of the later round picks, but still, like I said, this is a guy that he could be a good steal for a team. He could develop.
So. And his name, what was his name again? Out of Florida State?
Stanford Samuels III.
Samuels III. We're gonna definitely keep an eye on that name moving forward.
So yeah, I don't think he'll be a starter his rookie year. Maybe his second year he steps into starter role, depending on the position, the team he's with. But I like him. I think he's a great prospect to go to.
Again, I like what I've seen. I saw the same thing when I watched him on film. I really like that ability he has to shuffle and stay in man coverage like that. But I also really like the fact that he's long. What sticks out to me when I looked at him is length. Like if he's got good length, and as long as he's a decent athlete, he doesn't have to be a great athlete at
exactly.
that. You know, at that with that length, like but as long as he's a good athlete with that amount of length, he can play some corner in the NFL. So we'll definitely keep an eye on him. Now, there's one other guy that you also talked about.
Yeah, so TCU's defensive tackle, Ross Blacklock. School. Great, yes, exactly. Yep. Ross Blacklock. He's a defensive tackle, 6'4", 305 pounds, and he plays nimble. He can slide. He is quick off the snap, and he can play one technique. He can play three techniques. So you like his versatility on the inside because of his athleticism. Yep. He's not that typical nose tackle where he just plugs everything with his size. He is actually has a motor, and he will run plays down. Even if he over pursues, he still comes back to run plays down, which you love seeing that in a defensive lineman.
I love that in a defensive lineman, honestly. Yes. Like the fact that in today's NFL, like it seems like guys more and more have to be athletic on the defensive line, even playing on the interior, because we're seeing a lot of zone schemes.
Exactly.
In response to, I think that, see, the NFL is always evolving. Like, like it used to be, everyone's got these huge 350-pound dudes because we were seeing a lot of lead. We were getting a lot of power. You're getting a lot of straight ahead run. The league has moved away from that stuff a little bit. Over the past, I'd say 6 or 7 years, they've been moving more towards zone scheme, get those big guys moving. Now their size hurts them, and they can't run as much. So, but I think we're gonna see it swing the other way. I think we're gonna start seeing that, like with the Ravens. I think a lot of teams have gone for the speed play, and I think the Ravens are just one of those teams that's like, okay, defenses are getting small. Let's move to the power side.
Kind
of like what Stanford did in the Pac-12 when they were dominant. You know, like it was just speed, and then at Stanford, huge run right at you. So,
and you guys were talking about the last episode. Look at Derrick Henry in Tennessee. They're going out there to straight punch you in the mouth right now. They're going to run just straight out you, straight down your throat, and just grind you out.
Yeah. Just
physically exhaust you. So in the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry's feeling great, and he's just going to keep trudging right through everybody. So, like you said, it's.
Yeah, I think that's just it's gonna be something that will, I just think the pendulum is gonna start swinging back the other way now as a response. But anyway, let's get back to the TCU.
Was it? Yeah, Ross Blacklock.
Yeah.
So the films that I watched on him, I watched a bit of film on him, and you see him. He gets his good hand positioning. He plays low pad height, which is important for defense tackle. Yeah, and you see him at the moment, he'll shrug off an offensive lineman, make the tackle. He is always, like I said, the biggest thing that I loved about him more than anything else was his motor. He is always pursuing. He's always looking to finish a play. He doesn't just give up on a play, which, I mean, like you said, you see a defensive tackle or defensive lineman make a tackle 10 yards downfield. That is incredible. Like, that is incredible to pursue and make tackles downfield.
The fact that you say that, actually, I love the fact you said that because it takes me back to a guy – I mean, the fact that a D lineman with a motor, I believe you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
If he's got a motor, you can't really go wrong. Now, and the thing is, if teams had just looked at that alone, they could have avoided some serious mistakes. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, Robert Kimdiche comes out of Ole Miss. And I watched his film in college, and what stuck out to me were a couple things. The first was that Robert Kimdiche only seemed to make plays when he was unblocked. Now, and granted, well, a guy who's that athletic is going to make plays when he's unblocked, but does he know how to play with leverage?
Exactly.
Kimdiche was always an athlete who he just knows how to be an athlete, and in college he could get away with that. But in the NFL, it's not just how good of an athlete you are. It's like, can you play with leverage, and do you know how to play defensive line? Because in college, it's good enough to just be a freak athlete on the line, but in the NFL, you have to learn how to actually play defensive line.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing. The second thing, very briefly, Robert Kimdiche quit on plays all the time. Lazy. Another thing I saw, lazy. And I said, I would not pick this guy. Yeah. Don't pick him.
No.
Sure enough, here we are. He busts a couple years later. So that's huge. A motor on the D line.
One of my biggest, and he played for the Chiefs, which I hate, but Jared Allen. I loved watching him play because that guy was relentless on the line. Yeah. He was relentless. Yeah. He was relentless. Yeah, so he's a great example. But the guy Ross Blacklock, he's been compared to Gerald McCoy, which that's not a bad comparison by any means. That's not a bad comparison. So he tore his Achilles in 2018, but he came back and had a strong 2019. So there is that, I guess you say
the
red flag.
ACL thing,
Yeah, but there is that red flag. But then again, he had a strong 2019, so I feel like the injury might be, almost completely behind him.
I feel like the injury concerns are downplayed as long as he proved he could play within the last year. How was he post injury? And it looks like he's done great. So
yeah.
I definitely, I don't know, motor with 6'4", 305 sounds like a guy I'd take. I don't know about first round, but he definitely seems to.
Exactly, a later round guy, a guy that you could rally around, a guy that'll be a role playing guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'd like to talk about a guy. Now everyone's talking about this guy, but I'm going to talk about him. Now I think he's the future of NFL linebackers. Isaiah Simmons. Not that you can get a bunch of Isaiah Simmonses, but
no.
The trend, before I talk about him, the trend was it seemed like all of these linebackers were running like 4.5s.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially guys who are going to play on the outside, speed is just the thing in the NFL now. And it kind of plays into what I was talking about earlier, that I think NFL teams are going to start running more power at these smaller, faster defenses and stuff.
Yeah.
I think you might see that. But for right now, NFL defenses are in complete speed mode. They just want speed, however much of it we can get at every level. And that's what we saw in those linebackers around the 40s. And Isaiah Simmons was the absolute king of it. Now, I think he's a dark horse to go number one as a defender. Not number one overall, but I think he's my dark horse. He could unseat Chase Young.
And Chase Young is a stud.
Oh, he's incredible. He's a freak athlete. But Simmons, honestly, I think is the dark horse. That means that if I'm a bet man, you're asking me to put money on it, I'm still going to go Young.
Yeah, of course.
But my
you're
heart
throw a little money. Yeah, you're throw a little money.
Yeah,
see if you get a big payday.
Right, but with Simmons, I think Simmons has that ability because he's so special for a modern day linebacker. He fits the current NFL so well in terms of what teams want. He's long. He's pretty big. He's faster than hell. He can play in coverage, and he's pretty physical in the run game. He's perfect in today's NFL. So I really like him. I like him a lot, especially to play outside linebacker in a 4-3. I kind of hope the Raiders can get their hands on him. Just because I look at a team that needs a guy like that, and I think the Raiders need some speed like that, some play like that at linebacker. I know you're a Chargers fan. It probably hurts to say that.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, you know what? They have a plethora of draft picks this year. So my cousin, who's going to be my best man at my wedding, he is a diehard Raider fan. So he and I just go back and forth. And I've told him, I'm a bit nervous with Chucky being back there and the moves you guys are making.
Well, it's starting to pay dividends. Everyone's laughing at them last year, but they got a little better this year, and now next year is watch out. But what are your thoughts on Simmons from Clemson?
Like you said, the guy is an absolute stud. He is fast. He's physical. You said everything. I mean, the guy. I was already reading about him, obviously, but you can't go wrong with a pick like him. I don't think he'll be the first defensive player. I still think Chase Young and then Okuda, the cornerback, also a stud.
From Ohio State.
Okuda, yeah. Yep. He's another stud. So I know teams will choose best player available and team needs. I've always been a big thing of, he's best player available, but we already have a good player right here. So I'm more of a team need guy first and best player, see which one the need is. So it depends on, is there a trade? I saw a thing that the Chargers can trade up to try and get, Tua. And if that happens, trade up to number 2 or number 3, that pushes the defensive needing team down. So how is that going to change things out? And that's the whole excitement of the draft too. So
right, and that's how things change. And the guy's putting out mock drafts right now. I'm just like, what are you doing? I know you're paid to do it, but come on.
I often wonder, do teams pay these guys hey, I need you to put this to get some smoke screens going,
right,
some animal, yeah.
I mean, you might as well be. That is one of the most. That is probably the most foolish thing anyone does right now is try to put out a mock draft 2, 3, 4 months before the thing happens. Their trades are going to happen. Free agency still has to go down. What are teams addressing in free agency? So I really don't do mock drafts. I especially don't do them anything before like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before.
Before the draft, exactly. And then like we were talking about, you guys were talking about last week, the Mitchell Trubisky trade up to draft Mitchell Trubisky. Like that's something you just don't account for on draft day. Like no one thought that was going to happen.
No, I don't think so. But then again, I mean, we all saw what happened with Trubisky. But
yeah.
So I'd like to segue into the Chargers. Oh, correction. No, I want to talk about the combine, not the combine. Okay. Oh, geez. We're going to have to edit that part out. No, so now I would like to segue into the CBA. This new CBA agreement. We're hearing more about it, and all the talk show hosts are going, "Oh, it's a great deal for the players. The players need to take it." And my response was the opposite. I was like, "No, players are getting screwed here. They're adding games. There's no extra bye week, and they're only making $250,000 on that extra week." I was like, "This is not a great deal for the players." What do you think?
You know what? I have mixed feelings about it. For this player safety wise, I agree. Like, they have to play another game, which the NFL is a grueling season for them. You're out there banging your bodies against other people for 60 minutes. It is a physical, violent game. So adding another game to it, it's not really going to behoove the older veteran players. But then again, the majority of the league, the 60% that will get a pay raise, those young guys that are like, yeah, I could use another 100,000 or another, 100,000 in a season like that. My mom could use a house, my dad could use a house. So I see both sides of it.
Well, the thing is, like, I just see it from a fact that, like, if I was a player, why would we have 2 more games? Why not? Like, listen, it would be a done deal for me if I was a player. It would be a done deal if they would get rid of the 3rd preseason game, add a bye week, and then I think we'd be set. And who cares about that 3rd preseason game anyway? By the time that 2nd preseason games happen, teams know who their guys are. I mean, let's get real. Who do you think you're kidding playing a 4th preseason or even a 3rd preseason game? You know who's on your final roster by then.
Yeah. From what I've read about the adding a 17th game to the season, they don't project it to start till about the 2022 season, just because obviously they need to do the scheduling, and there isn't going to be the back and forth of adding another bye week. Because if you're going to add another game, you need another bye week. These guys are going to get beat to hell, especially the older veteran guys. And when you're a team owner, it's like, yeah, that sounds great. We can get more money. But then as a team owner, you also think, well, now I'm putting my best players, my older, better players at high risk of injury. So I agree that, yeah, it'd be great to have another week because who doesn't love football? But you do need to add another bye week, which, I mean, all that does is extend the NFL season another 2 weeks with the extra bye week plus the extra game. I'm not a big fan of the extending 1 extra team into the playoffs, that part of the CBA. I hate that. Yeah, I hate that part.
I completely agree, actually. I mean, like, we didn't agree on whether the players should sign it or not, but this thing, I hated the fact they expanded. Number one, it's another playoff game. You're including a team that, we talked about this, it would have been the Steelers in the AFC. Who wants to see the Steelers in the playoffs this last
year? You guys said it. Who wants to see Doug Hodges out there throwing? No.
And then the other team would have been the Rams. First off, you're letting almost half the league into the playoffs. There comes a point when you've watered this down too much. Like, I love playoffs, and I love expanding playoffs. And we talked about this in the first episode, me and Chris did, that you want to expand the playoffs if you're in the college football playoff, the highest level of college football, FBS. But in the NFL, it's just, you're watering down the system now just to make money.
It's true.
Like, you're risking ruining your product. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. In that sense.
Yeah, so
especially like the last week or two going into the playoffs, where you already have the playoff atmosphere and it's so tight. When you add an extra team on each side, it's like, I'm not saying you might think like, oh, well, it's not that much, but it makes a whole lot difference. Yeah,
well, so Chargers still wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. we're the worst, most talented team in the NFL.
It's been you guys for years.
Exactly. I think we had like 9 games that we lost by 7 points or less.
It's just this.
Like that's literally a play in a game. A play. If we made that play, it's frustrating.
Or if Rivers doesn't make that throw, or if he doesn't make that throw.
If we're transitioning to the Chargers right now to talk about our woes, I am 100% ready to talk about that.
All right. Well, without any further ado, I guess we'll talk about them. But all right. So first, I want to get your thoughts on it. I want you to talk a little bit about your experiences as a Charger fan in recent years. What do you think of your team? What do you think of what they need to do and all that sort of stuff? So just go ahead.
The best way to describe my life as a Charger fan, you can ask Chris or my cousin. I think Shane has it too. Their photo, whenever I call, is a photo of me like this. And it's just my hands bare in place. We went out for my birthday, and the Chargers were playing the Raiders. And we're winning. We're playing game. And then we ended up blowing the game. And so the game I'm just like this at the bar, just like, and they get a photo of it. And now that is my photo whenever they call.
That's your Michael Jordan crying face.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. That is literally what. So that is every season. I mean, not last year, but the year before we went to the playoffs, we win that wild card game against the Ravens. And I mean, I lost my voice that week. I was at hype level 50,000. Once I saw Uchenna Nwosu strip the ball, get the fumble recovery, like it was incredible. It was an incredible feeling. And then we go next week, and I'm thinking like, yeah, we're gonna take it to the Patriots. Rivers is finally gonna get his revenge on Tom Brady. He's never beat Tom Brady. It's
true.
And then we just absolutely get demolished. Like it wasn't even a game.
It wasn't. It was actually kind of shocking. I remember that game. It was over before it even began. Like it was over by the end of the first quarter. It was like, wow.
Yeah, and the first quarter, I'm like, it's all right. You know what? The Patriots were able to score that many in this time frame. So all we need to do is, tighten up a little bit. And who said we can't score that much in that short amount of time? Like whenever I see like my team going down in the first half, it's like, look, that other team just did it. Why can't we do that same thing to them in the second half?
Yeah.
But by mid-second quarter, I was like, oh God, just this can't be over.
Make it stop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Make it stop.
The one time Rivers had a viable chance against Tom Brady, he was playing with a torn ACL in the AFC divisional game, in the AFC championship game.
Was this was 2006 or so, wasn't it?
6 or 7, yes.
It was,
and
it's the one.
That's the Gates was injured. LT went out injured with a knee injury, and Rivers tore his ACL in the divisional round. Obviously they're saying like, "Hey, your season's done." He's like, like hell, my season. Well, actually, he would have said like, "Dang," because he doesn't curse. He went like, "Dang, my season's done."
His kid, one of his 9 kids, might have seen it.
Yeah. And he's out there with the biggest, bulkiest of knee braces out there, hobbling in his dropbacks, and still, I mean, the guy's heart can't be matched. I mean, that is just otherworldly. And we had a chance in the game, and I always say if Rivers wasn't injured, I think we could have won that game. I think we could have won that game and punched a ticket. Of course, that's if.
You probably have some very mixed feelings on Rivers, considering how things have gone for him out there. Because it always felt like, Rivers he's right there. He's legitimate without being legitimate, is kind of how it seemed. It was like, it's like, okay, we got a quarterback, but then in the big games, no, we don't have a quarterback.
And see, the biggest thing, okay, I'll be the first to tell you, I love Philip Rivers. I don't care that he's throwing interceptions. Like, the guy is a gunslinger. Like, the guy is fearless. He's a gunslinger, whether he makes the throw or he doesn't make the throw. He's going to go right back out there and make that same throw again because he plays fearless. Yeah, he's a gunslinger.
Shot put looking throw, too.
Oh, it's the weirdest, ugliest
throw.
It's
a weird throwing motion.
The ugliest throwing motion. Yeah. And the crazy thing is his dad is a high school quarterback coach, and his dad tried to break him of it. His college coach tried to break him. Finally, they're just like, look, it works. Whatever. Do your thing. That's fine. But I got Rivers' signature at training camp. Was it not last year? 2 years ago, I got his signature. So I absolutely adore Philip Rivers. Like, that is my guy. If he goes, like, I think he might go to the Colts because Frank, like you guys were talking about the other episode 2 weeks ago, Frank Reich is their head coach. Yeah. He was our offensive coordinator. They have an amazing offensive line, which Rivers has never had. I think I texted you The highest overall grade we've ever had of our offensive line is 26th since like 2012 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is the ugliest stat line. He doesn't have an offensive. He's never had an offensive line. So,
I have actually, I just had to talk about the fact that was kind of lost in the shuffle. Everyone who was bashing on Rivers last year, it was like Rivers was playing without an offensive line the whole season. Yeah. And, it's the same reason why Melvin Gordon didn't have a big year. And I talked about that. Like, that is why Austin Eckler was effective, but Gordon wasn't. Despite the fact Gordon is a way bigger name than Eckler, much more talented overall than Eckler, physically, absolutely.
100%.
Gordon's the type of guy that can take a run. If he gets the right lane, he could take it from 80 yards out. He's got that kind of top-end speed. But the problem is the type of runner that Gordon is, he does not he needs blocking from a hard downhill line. He's a one-cut runner, not much of a slasher. Eckler's the opposite. And that's why Eckler can operate without an offensive line. Rivers was not given a fair shake. He was raked over the coals too much. People were too hard on him this last season for the play that he put on the field because of that fact.
Oh, and it cost our offensive coordinator, Ken Wisenhunt, his job too, which I think Ken Wisenhut's a great offensive coordinator.
That probably wasn't fair.
No, we promoted our quarterback coach to now offensive coordinator midseason, and now they've fully given him the offensive coordinator position. So this is going to be an interesting year to see that, because you don't have Philip Rivers, who you came up with as a QB coach. He's gone.
I mean, I hate to. I mean, that was we mainly talked about the past when we talk about the Chargers, but I mean, looking ahead, I see some major issues here moving forward.
Scary.
The offensive line is
the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing.
And then today, you just traded Russell Okung away.
I'm stoked about that trade. Like, I am really happy about it because, like, okay,
you are.
We were talking. Yes, I really like that trade because Okung, as great as he is, he wasn't consistent for us. The best ability is availability. He missed a lot of games for us.
Now that I'll give you. I will definitely give you that. Okung was injured a lot this year, but the thing is, when he's healthy, Okung is a top offensive tackle in the league. The other problem I have with trading him away, and we had the exact opposite reactions to that. You loved it. The reason I don't like it is because the backup. Okay, I wrote an article on Clelin Ferrell just recently. Clelin Ferrell had 4.5 sacks in 2019. Of those 4.5 sacks, 3 of them came against the guy who will now be the starter because they traded Okung away.
Okay.
Trey Pipkins.
Yeah, Pipkins. Oh, I will be the first to tell you. He was a 3rd-round pick. He was from a Division II school. He was totally projected to just be a project. He was never supposed to be getting game action. Never supposed to be getting game action at all. But injuries forced him into playing.
Right.
So will that help him along that? I mean, yeah, in the long run, it might help him get a little bit better because he saw game action. But I don't think he's ready by any means. I do not think he's ready to be a starter.
I don't know if you saw the article that I wrote for the Barker Media website where I talked about I don't think Pipkins will ever be left tackle material for sure in the NFL because he's fatally flawed in that he's not quick enough on his feet. He's a 6'7" guy out of Sioux Falls. He's a local product here out of South Dakota. He came to school here. Not sure where he's from originally. I think Colorado, but don't quote me on that. But he's from Sioux Falls. Big guy, 6'7". When I watched this film in college, that's what concerned me. I'm like, I don't think this guy's got the feet.
He's too big, exactly.
Too big and not agile enough.
Yeah, he might be able to get by as the left tackle, but no, I agree 100%. He's not a right tackle. That's why now that we made this big, move to get Trey Turner, which our interior lineman was atrocious as well. It wasn't just the outside. It
wasn't just them.
Yeah, so I really want us now to – I know you were saying, like, are you guys really going to roll TYROD? 100%. I am okay going to TYROD just for the simple fact of let's focus on the offensive line. Let's focus on – so I want us to draft Jedrick Willis. I want us to get an offensive tackle. Just continue getting better on the offensive line. Like Mike Pouncey, our center, his career might be over from his neck injury, so we don't even know if he's going to be back to play. There's still no word. I have no idea what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Scott Quisenberry, who we drafted, I think like the 5th round or 6th round, he played admirably. Came in at center, which he played at UCLA. It's a big program. He played at UCLA, but UCLA has been a mess for the last
since about the middle of what was that coach's name?
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly, but the guy who came before him, I just slipped my mind. Jim Mora. That's it.
Oh, Jim Mora. That's right. Yeah, Jim Mora.
Before his decline at UCLA, they were all right in the middle of his tenure there, and then they declined. But
Quisenberry's from there. He's a local guy, and he actually grew up a huge Charger fan. So to him, it's a dream come true to get to put on the powder blues and the helmet and the lightning bolts and everything like that. So
the main thing that concerned me is the Okung trade because of what it potentially does on their offensive line. Now they're going to have to roll with Pipkins unless they draft someone there.
And that's why I really think that now that they did that, I think they're kind of, okay, we got to get an offensive tackle. I think they're just accepting, like, you know what, we'll get a quarterback. Like me, I'm all about, like, tank for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Let's go sell the farm.
If you want to do that, start Pipkins at left tackle.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Look, I don't. The thing is, like, he is just a guy that the Chargers have a choice to make at that spot. They can either gamble that Pipkins is going to improve vastly in his second year and draft elsewhere, or they can know this is a disaster and go, okay, we need to pick up a left tackle right now because the left tackle position is the hardest position on the whole offensive line, and right now our worst guy's playing it, so we need to draft someone. It's really a question of what does the organization think? Which of those two routes are they going to go? So
it can be through the draft. Like I said, I want us to get Willis through the draft. That would be a great thing. But then, why am I blanking on his name? From Tennessee, their left tackle that's actually going to be a free agent. Jack Conklin.
Oh, Conklin. I like Conklin.
So he's going to be a free agent. And now we made this trade. If we go after a left tackle in the free agency, whether it's him, Costanzo, Scherf, one of those guys that are set to be free agents.
Yeah.
If we do that, then I can see us going after quarterback.
Yeah.
If we don't, I think we go offensive tackle in the draft because we really don't have much of a choice. We do not have a choice.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, like, either them trading Okung like that tells me one of two things. Either, like I said before, either they think Pipkins is going to improve in year 2, or they're planning to they're clearing that space so they can address it in either free agency or the draft. Like, those are the only That's exactly. That's all I can think with that move. So,
and the smart money's on either the free agency or the draft because.
Well, I don't know what they see that I look. The thing is, maybe they see something in Pipkins I don't. Perhaps they see potential. I just think that what's wrong with him is something you can't fix. You know, it's like a horse with a broken foot. It's like, look, it can't fix this.
Even Sam Tevi, our other tackle, which they have repeatedly put him out there just hoping he doesn't get better. And, like, he's had his moments, but unfortunately he's not. I've seen him give up too many sacks. I've seen him give up too many holding penalties. So him, you know, obviously Trey Pipkins we've been talking about, but both our options at tackle are not effective tackle players. Yeah. So I really think we need to get a free agent or a draft.
The other position on the Chargers that I wanted to talk about, a need that you discussed this, and I was like, hey, this guy knows the weaknesses. You talked about they need an interior defensive line. And I was like, that is what's been missing. They have Bosa and Ingram on the edge, and they have a pretty good inside linebacker, Denzel Perryman. I like him. Yeah. But the problem for the Chargers is the run game, and particular that interior defensive line. Go ahead and talk.
Well, you know what? Okay, so Drew Tranquill, our rookie from Notre Dame last year, he started out playing Denzel, and he actually jumped in, and he's a smaller player than Denzel. He doesn't bring the thump that Denzel brings, but he plays with just passion. He's fiery, and he plays so fast. He plays so fast. So I like him, but yes, we need an interior defensive lineman because you have running backs getting 3 yards, 4 yards downfield before even contact.
Yeah.
That is a ridiculous stat. You can't allow that when your defense is just getting gashed. I mean, you know, I think like, 3 yards, that's not that much. 4 yards, no, 3 yards for us before contact. That means their offensive line are literally grabbing our defensive players and just hucking them out of the way, like they're not even there, and that is killer.
Yeah, and especially when you have two guys like Ingram and Bosa, is because when you're allowing teams to run the ball like that, you're keeping them out of passing situations where those two can really work. Like, and then that is why this is a huge problem, and I think the Chargers have got to address that. Either in free agency or the draft, they've got to find a run defense, because until they do,
100%.
It's like that is really hurting Joey Bosa and Ingram.
It really is.
It's ruining what they're really good at. You're losing opportunities to use those two because you're not defending the run game well. So that was actually cool that you mentioned that interior defensive line, because I've said the same thing for a long time.
And on top of that,
to find a run defense.
On top of that, like when you get to like third and short, where it's like, let's shut them down right here, and they can just plow right ahead and carry the drive, and your defense is just gassed. And that's a morale breaker. Like, that breaks you when you're on third and short and you can't get off the field.
Right. That
breaks the mental aspect of the game. It's just, you're just in your head thinking like, really, like we can't just get a stop. Yeah. But so yeah, I think we need an interior defensive lineman really bad. So if it was up to me, I would go offensive line first round, defensive line second round. See what our skill players. We have some great skill players.
You do.
We have really good skill players.
Could be the best receiving core in NFL, or one of. It's a very good receiving core.
Yes, we just got done letting Travis Benjamin walk, which I'm so happy with, because he was supposed to be a top end guy, but I saw him drop like 5 passes last year, and some that he was wide open, and I'm just like, are you? You're literally not doing what you were paid to do. You are paid to run fast past everybody and get a wide open deep ball, and you're dropping them. He is a deep threat. I mean, his nickname is Rabbit because he's so fast. The guy is lightning speed fast. He came from Cleveland Browns, had a breakout year in like 2015 or something like that.
Yeah.
Just taking the top end off defenses. He comes to us. He had a pretty good year, but it's just been a steady decline after that. We restructured his contract last year so he could stay with the team. And then this year, it's just kind of like, they mutually agreed to part ways. So he's going to be set to be a free agent, which I'm okay with that.
Right. Well, the last thing I would like to talk about with the Chargers is this Tyrod Taylor madness. Now, I'll give you my quick take on it before we get going. But I think, look, the thing is, it's not always as it seems. I think if the Chargers are seriously thinking we'll go Tyrod Taylor and expect to win games and go to the playoffs, that's absolute madness. I think anyone who thinks that is crazy. Tyrod Taylor has lost jobs in Buffalo. He lost his job in Cleveland in 2018 to Baker Mayfield. He's not a starter in this league. That is beyond proven. The only way they're doing that, in my opinion, if the Chargers are seriously going to go Tyrod Taylor, which I can't imagine they will in a quarterback market this rich in free agency and the draft together. There are quarterbacks everywhere. Like, if you end up going Tyrod Taylor, you're just insane or you have a death wish. And so I think that if they're doing that, it's because they're tanking and they want to get Lawrence next year. I'm all about that. I'm 100% about that. If that's the plan, tank for Trevor. Let's absolutely go do it.
Sell the farm for that kid, because that kid is special. That kid is special.
He is good.
Of course, he could also be our last big QB that we drafted. Well, obviously not Phillip Rivers, but before that, the big one that was special coming out of college was Ryan Leaf. Yeah. We saw how that ended.
Yeah.
So, no, but okay, Tyrod lost his job in Buffalo. They pulled him for Davis. Who was it? Through 5 picks. Nathan Peterman. Threw 5 picks against the Chargers.
Yep. And then he comes back in a playoff game against the Jaguars and gets a field goal, I think.
Yeah. And then after that, they got Josh Allen, so I don't think he had a fair shot. I mean, Tyrod, he's not a bad quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. I don't think he's not someone that you can say, like, he's going to lead the team, he's going to carry the team. Not by any means. But he's a role-playing quarterback. He knows his job. He'll manage. And the reason why I'm okay starting him is because we need a quarterback that can buy himself some time with his legs. We need that because, like we've been talking about, we have no offensive line.
That's absolutely true. And that's a point, maybe an indirect point that we don't talk about, is the fact that perhaps they're going with Taylor because they know the quarterback's not going to be protected. He's got to run around. I mean, that could be true.
Exactly. So that's the only thing I thought about. Is that maybe they're just, look, we don't have a line. We need someone that can buy themselves some time. I mean, Easton Stick, we have him on the team, which Chris and I were saying, like, he might have the coolest name in the NFL. But he's a winner too. He is a winner. He won an FCS. I got to watch him at training camp. He had some signs, but then you watch him in game, like in the preseason. It was a learning curve. It was definitely a learning curve because you're going from FCS, where you won a championship in FCS, but now you're with the big boys in the NFL, and it's a lot faster now. A lot faster.
Yeah, definitely.
You have defenders that know the game well enough that they will bait you into a throw. They want you to make that throw.
Right. It's just a whole other ball game. And the fact that, like I said, like, I mean, the book is out on Taylor. And look, Anthony Lynn can go with Tyrod Taylor if he wants to. But if this is a tanking project, I'm not sure he survives the year if he does that.
We did just extend Anthony Lynn, so we have him through the 2021 season, I believe it is, which I love Anthony Lynn. Like, I'm a huge fan of Anthony Lynn.
We're going to push back on that one.
He is a motive. Like, you watch, like, I've watched videos of him, like, coaching. Like, the guy is a leader of men, I guess you could say. That'd be the best thing to say about him. He's a leader of men. He rallied the. Like, you guys were talking about Ron Rivera.
I love Ron Rivera.
Yeah. Oh, players love playing for him.
Yeah.
You hear the same thing about Anthony Lynn. Like, the players really respond to him. They like playing for Anthony Lynn. So I'm a big fan of Anthony Lynn. Especially, I mean, we had North Turner. It was a horrible time.
Yeah. Turner's he's a coordinator.
Marty Schottenheimer was 14-2. We lose in the playoffs, and we fire him for 14-2. We just fire the guy. So, I mean,
yeah. 14-2 won too many times.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They call it Marty Ball, not playing aggressive enough. But
the thing is, my issue with Anthony Lynn is, Ron Rivera. Okay, here's where I separate the two. Ron Rivera got a raw deal because his franchise quarterback. He played the whole season without a franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
he can't be expected to go to the playoffs.
100% agree.
In Anthony Lynn's case, nothing truly went wrong with the Chargers this last year. Yes, they had a bad offensive line.
We had a lot of injuries too. We had a lot of injuries across the board. We had
there were I think there were a few, but to tell you the truth, I don't see greatness right now with Anthony Lynn, and we'll see. Obviously, that's the beauty of this, is that we'll get to find out.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, right now, I don't know. He concerns me at the head coaching position there.
Well, like you said, we're going to find out. He started his career off 0-4, then we rallied those wins off in 2018 to make the playoffs. So that's a big turnaround. He kept the team together, kept the team focused. Like, look, we're starting off. He views each game, like the first 4 games, as the quarter of the season. Then let's win this quarter. That his big thing is, let's win this quarter.
Okay.
Let's win this quarter. Let's win this quarter.
Interesting concept.
It is. It's a good concept, and I like that concept. Yeah, let's win this quarter. Hey, we went 3-1 in this quarter. That's a good quarter. So almost like in baseball, like, winning series, you want to win the series. Yeah. So similar concept in that sense. So I like Anthony Lynn. I think if we can get an offensive, it really is the biggest thing. If we can get an offensive line, even with Tyrod Taylor, if we have a decent offensive line, we can really do some things because we have such strong positional players that can carry the team. It doesn't have to be the quarterback to carry the team. It could be the rest of the skill players that carry the team.
Yeah. No, I would say, there's definitely a lot to like there. I don't want the guy to fail, but I'm not sold on Lynn right now. Just after a year that, when nothing absolutely catastrophic went wrong, it's hard for me to stay on the Anthony Lynn train. But
it was a rough year. So, we did fire the offensive coordinator, so we're going to see how that shakes out going forward. I'm glad we kept Gus Bradley. I like him as a defensive coordinator. I really like him as a defensive coordinator.
I like Gus Bus.
Yeah, everyone talks about playing for him. They love playing for Gus. So
now, if we can just get him an interior defensive line.
Exactly. Let's do that. That's the biggest thing.
So our last subject of the talk, and this, honestly, I'm going to catch some heat for this one because I'm defending a heel here. Vontaze Burfict has been reinstated by the NFL. Now, it's not clear right now if they're going to actually let him play. He's been reinstated, though, and that's enough. Now, I happen to like Vontaze Burfict.
Oh, me too. I do too.
Oh, I was well.
I do too. I like him.
Well, we'll get along fine. But the fact is that most people around the league hate him. And there are compilations on YouTube. People are like, oh, this guy's just a dirty player. There are people who hate Vontaze Burfict so much, they think that everything he does is dirty.
Well, look, this last hit that got him, first fined, and then he got pulled out of the league, that last hit, I didn't find it a dirty hit by any means.
Well, it wasn't even, here's the thing, Jack Doyle wasn't defenseless.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I didn't think it was a dirty hit by any means, but they're just basing it off his record of, he's done this before, he's done this in the past, done this in the past. But you look at everything that came out of the Raiders camp was that he was a team leader.
Yep.
He was coaching the younger guys. He was being a team first guy.
All positive buzz.
Exactly. And then this hit happens, and it was, I hate the Raiders. I 100% hate the Raiders, but I will defend the fact that he should have never been kicked out of the league for that. That was ridiculous. I thought that hit was just normal football play.
No, I said I've written an article that will come out in the next couple days about Burfict. He that hit. If you were going to throw Burfict back out of the league, I really didn't think that hit was going to be the one to do it.
Exactly.
He didn't even. There was nothing truly malicious about it. The only thing you can say is he dropped his head. But I'm like, but how often do guys, when they're making a tackle on a running back or a runner who sees them, how often do they drop their head? It just so happened Doyle's head was in the way of where he did it.
Exactly.
Now, yes, you could say maybe he did spear, but it's not a malicious play. There comes a point where, look, the guy is flag him for 15-yard penalty. Fine, if you want to say he speared, but don't throw him out of the league for something like that. Throw him out of the league for doing what he did to Antonio Brown or
exactly.
One of those that was my biggest problem with officials. They can't seem to figure out, or a lot of time they have a hard time discerning the difference between a malicious, I intend to hurt someone hit, and and it's a dirty, cheap shot with malicious intent versus a football play that is just a big hit. They don't seem to be able to tell the difference.
And the thing about that, too, is that in the league, it's not like what it was in the 70s where players were looking to hurt other players. Now the league's become such a brotherhood in a sense that no one's going out there trying to hurt someone. No one's trying to end someone's career by injury. They all respect each other. Yeah, in the heat of the moment, you're trying to do your job and win, but there's no bad blood malicious. You hear that here and there, but for the most part, there's no malicious hits that are looking to take someone's head off. It's so rare in today's NFL.
Right, because in today's NFL, a lot of these guys are training together. This isn't
exactly.
This isn't, now for better or for worse. In a lot of ways, it's worse, I think. But for better or worse, the NFL is nowhere near as tribal as it used to be. You don't really see those rivalries that are just bad blood teams. Really don't because these guys now train together. It used to be back then, nobody trained together. Everybody was just with their team. Trades weren't common. You were with your team and you were with your team, and we hate that team. Now, and like I said, for better or for worse, it's not like that anymore. So you really don't see people doing it like you said. You don't really see people attacking each other like that.
No, you see some violent hits here and there, but it's football. That's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So no, I am 100% with you on that. I don't think Vontaze should have been suspended to begin with for that hit. I think that was just a normal football hit. You see it all the time. But it's Vontaze Burfict making that hit, so it's Vontaze.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the fact that, and I think this has been his problem all along. First off, Vontaze Burfict, I played a lot like him when I played. Now, I wasn't near as dirty. I did not cheap shot people like he did. But in terms of between the whistles, I like the way he plays. He's an old school linebacker. His problem is that Burfict is a 90s linebacker trapped in the 21st century of the NFL. That's it. That's all it is. 15 years ago, an NFL defensive coordinator would have loved to have Burfict.
It's funny that you say that because when we were going in and you told me we were going to talk about Vontaze, I was thinking the same thing. You put him in the 70s or the 80s, or the 90s, he would have been celebrated by his fan base. His fan base would have just, they would have loved him because of how aggressive he is, But yeah, in today's NFL, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, and you have too many you have too many ways in which like guys can get penalized. But like Burfict does things that guys were taught to do 15, 20 years ago. I mean, heck, I remember my brother telling me to do the types of things that Burfict does. Like, he's trapped in the wrong age. Like he's like an old, he's like an old gladiator that's just trapped in an age where he can't kill people. Like,
and I think
that's just how it appears to me.
No, it's true. And I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that, when he first came in, yes, he was a bit of a dirty player. He made some questionable things. But like we were talking about, through the Raiders, his time with the Raiders, there was nothing but glowing praise about the guy. Like, you could tell he's cleaned his act up a little bit. He's looking to be more of a leadership role for his players, younger players, teach them a little bit, work along, be a team first kind of guy.
Yeah.
So there was nothing but great things. It was almost thinking like, wow, the guy turned a leaf. He's looking to be, more serious about it, not get suspensions, something like that.
And that was the other part of it that was so heartbreaking, was like, it seemed to be that Burfict had eliminated the bad parts of his game and had turned the corner as a player. It truly seemed that way, like with the Raiders.
Yeah. And the weird thing about it is, of all the teams, it's the Raiders who used to always have this, notion of being the bad guys of the NFL and things of that nature. But here's Vontaze, who's been a bad guy of the NFL. And I was with the Raiders, and it's like, oh, the guy's great. He's team first guy. So it's kind of ironic.
I just think we have a collision here between, Roger Goodell's new finesse NFL, kind of a glamorous version of the NFL versus, a blast from the past like Vontaze Burfict. He just has a target on his back.
Exactly.
He just does. And, Burfict is gonna, if he does play again, it's gonna be the same thing.
I hope he does.
I think he's going to, and I hope he does too. But I think it's gonna be the same thing. Burfict is the past. A guy like Isaiah Simmons is the future. And
see, the thing that's gonna hurt Burfict going forward too is that no team's gonna be willing to give him a big payday. They're gonna be like, oh, I'll give you a earn it contract for a year.
Right.
Prove it that you're,
Yeah, because why should they take you if this guy could get suspended any game, done for the year.
He breathed wrong on a player, so
yeah, he's definitely that. But anyway, that looks like that's going to be it for our show.
Had a great time.
Hey, it was great having you on, Brandon. I'm glad I finally met you again. This is
same.
Again, again, this is Brandon Morales, who is the co-host for Dad Hats, a new show on thebarkermedia.com. Proud partner as well as this show on that site. And we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of Barnaud's Blitz. We will see you again next week for another edition of The Blitz, where we will discuss more happenings around the NFL and college football, getting ready for some spring ball coming up.